So when we talk about laughter and why laughter is important, physiologically, it does a lot of things for us. It helps us to secrete our endorphins. It drops your blood pressure if you laugh, drops it in a good way. It also increases your tidal volume, increases your circulation, and all of those hormone secretions that you need, things like that. Laughter is good, and as they've actually measured that. And there's nothing wrong with laughing at work as long as you know when to turn it on and off. And any of the humor that I talk about is respectful humor. We're obviously not ever making fun of somebody's, race or religion or their preferences or anything like that. That's just, it's not funny. It's illegal, and it's just not funny. There's no need to do that. And I always talk about this, about using laughter at work, because every nurse I know has said at one time or another, you can't make this stuff up. And every nurse that I know has said at one time or another, we could write a book. Okay. And so I would encourage you to write these things down. So I have some funny stories that kind of go over with you, just some funny things. That again, these are stories that I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you ever before the pandemic, if you would ever go out with a group of people from work, nurses, and then maybe there was a couple spouses or partners there who were not medical. The nurses are all talking about, a code or a situation, or the crash cart fell over, and laughing about it and stuff like that. And the non-medical people in the group are kind of looking at us like, what? And then usually one of them says to the nurses, that's not funny. And we kind of quiet down, and they say, because that man could have died. And of course we go, oh, he did. Oh yeah. Oh, hell yeah. And stuff. And so it's sort of like, are you laughing that the man died? No, but just all the crazy stuff that goes along with it. And laughing helps us cope with the stress. And now more than ever do we know that. And the stress levels, obviously, in nursing are astronomical. When they said 2020 was the year of the nurse, are you kidding me? I mean, did they call that or what? It has been the year of the nurse personified, and it's just really kind of neat to kind of see that. So when we talk about some of these things, I encourage people to write stuff down. And what I used to do, I actually started in the ER in 75 as a clerk, 77 as a nurse. In around 1979, I remember I had a yellow legal pad in my locker, and I used to just write down, not a journal or a diary, but just like a sentence or two that I wanted to remember what a patient said or something, because I thought these were fascinating stories. But also, even though we sort of tell these sometimes at the ER Christmas party or at a cookout or something like that, there's a lot of learning that goes along with sort of war stories, because sometimes as a newer nurse, I remember thinking, oh, I didn't know that's what a patient meant when they said that. And we have to know what patients are talking about. As you know, a lot of our patients have their own dialogue and, words for certain procedures and medications that you've never heard of before. And unless you know what they're talking about, you miss a lot of that information. So I would encourage you to write them down, and within reason, they're kind of good to share. And you know what I do now, instead of a yellow legal pad, I put in the notes section of my phone that I want to remember something that a patient said. And so, sometimes people say, oh my gosh, you're so funny. Where do you get your material? And I say, well, thank you, but you've never worked in a hospital, have you? And they're like, no, I've been in business or whatever. Because anyone that's worked in a hospital would never say, where do you get your material? Where I get my material, I clock in, okay, and it's handed to me, as you all know. So I'll tell you a couple of these funny stories, and there's not a huge educational value to this talk. And June Thompson, the nurse planner, probably just had a stroke when I said that, but it's just something just to kind of laugh and just forget some of the stuff has been going on in our nursing world for a while. So that's kind of the gist behind this talk.